Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live fly tying session with me here, Peter Driver and Piscari Fly. Hi to everybody online. Brian Kennedy's on there, Roger Fowler, Sebastian is on there with us, James Hope, how you doing, James? Dylan Roberts from Wales, keeping well over there, Dylan, Declan Noon, and Jared Lennon, Paul Burke. Thanks very much, Paul. Article in Trout and Salmon this month. Yeah, Trout and Salmon did a little article on a couple of fly patterns we did. Thanks very much to the guys over there in Trout and Salmon. Jamie Conway, Liam Long, Patrick Burke, Ricky Croak. Happy birthday, Ricky. Ricky Croak's birthday today, folks. Cian and Graham Lanigan. Hope everybody's keeping well. Hope everybody had a good week. How you doing, Robbie Berry, Michael Callaghan? Good to see so many people on with us. Hope everyone had a good week. Colin Corrigan. A bit of an eventful week here for ourselves. We had COVID go through the house. All gone now, thanks. How you doing, Dave? Dave is on there as well. Glory to Ukraine, absolutely. Patrick McCarthy. Dave will be on with his trivia questions tonight, folks. Got a nice little spot prize for nice little spot prize for you tonight. Peter Moylan, good to have you on with us, Peter. Hope everybody's keeping well. Yeah, we fucking COVID went through the house here last weekend, early in the week. All gone now, thanks be to God, and everyone's well. Yeah, strange old week when all the restrictions are gone and everything's gone. We went back into lockdown, but look at anyway. We made the best of it as we could. Dominic is on with us there. Kieran Sherlock, how you doing, Kieran? But anyway, so we got a great show lined up for you tonight, folks. It's all, how you doing, Bernard? It's all about early season lock flies, okay? Second last show of the season. Next weekend will be our last show for this season, and we'll be back live with a whole new show. We're already planning it. A whole live new show come. Thanks a million, John Ditch. How you doing, Bernard Mannion? Back with a whole new live show next October, the first Saturday in October. But say tonight's all about early season lock style flies. Okay, we got a special guest, a very special guest tonight now. Sebastian McMichael came on from Ban Valley Flies. We did had a bit of a chat with Sebastian last night about some early season lock flies, trends, different things that in his expertise he sees and regards patterns and stuff like that. What works early season. So that's coming along a little while. I got 4 cracking patterns to tie for you here tonight, folks. I'm going to do 2 dabblers to start with. 2 really good dabbler patterns. How you doing, Wayne? How you doing, Kevin? 2 really good dabbler patterns. And then we're going to do a Gorge George and I'm going to do a Zonker. Okay, so most at the start of the season, we're talking pre-duck fly here, really. Trout they've got to be very opportunistic. I think location is the key that time of year. This time of year, should I say, location is the key. Trying to find those fish on shelves, rocks, or in along the margins, wherever they're hunting. But there's a couple of patterns that are must have. How you doing, Desmond? Desmond Paul's on there. Folks, if anybody hasn't seen, by the way, Desmond has 2 fly boxes and a selection nymphs up there for grabs for his charity. I know I bought a few lines off him last night. But get on there to Desmond Paul and support his great cause there for cancer research. He's been building 2 amazing fly boxes there from fly tyers all over the country, indeed all over Europe, I think. Fantastic prizes. They're well worth a few bob. If anyone can spare a few bob, please do support the charity for Desmond Paul. Well done, Desmond. Great effort made there every year and getting that fly box together. I wouldn't mind him, I tell you. I have enough fly to my name. May start tying soon. To get a few flies for the start of the season. How you doing, Robert Flaherty? But so we got those four flies coming up for you. Say this time of the year, it is fairly opportunistic, and if you're targeting the right areas with the right kind of patterns, you can get some really good success. We're going to go through some of them in a while. So we're going to start off, and then we're going to do a very simple dabbler. So some of the best dabblers. Hi, James. Some of the best dabblers. Don't forget, folks, you can win all these flies tonight, and you can also win any ones that I have tied prior to tonight, doing a bit of practice. All you got to do is share the stream. Hit that share button on the stream there, folks, or tag a friend or whatever you want to do, or send in a comment, and that will get you into the draw. I'll do the draw on Wednesday for the flies tonight, and a few that I did earlier on, just warming up. How you doing, Kieran? Mark Robinson, good to have you on us there, folks. So what I'll do is, right, I'm just actually looking at the screen there, trying to catch up on everyone. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing here now. So we got we're going to tie a fiery brown dabble. Now, I might have, great idea, Dylan. Dylan's just asking Desmond Paul, can he put up a link to donate to the raffle? If you can do that, Desmond, would be great there in the comments, and everyone can just track you in that way then. I probably have done this dabbler before, but it's such a crucial and important fly to have early season going out the locks. I'm going to do it again. So it's a fiery brown dabbler. I've started off there with a Camazan B175 in the vice, and I've got Glow Bright number 7 here in a tread bobbin. We're going to start off that Glow Bright number 7. Get myself into my rhythm here now in a few moments, folks. I'm putting Lily to bed now this evening, and I nodded off. Worst thing that can happen. How you doing, Peter? Worst thing can happen, nodding off when you're putting the kids to bed there before the live show. I feel like I've after, sleeping for hours and I'm groggy as hell. But anyway, I'll get into my rhythm there in a little while. I actually poured myself a can of beer coming up tonight. I said I need something to wake myself up, so having a little drop of ale there now at the moment. So I got a dyed orange pheasant tail here, and I'm going to put in a tail on that one. Put that in there as a tail, and then what I want to do is create a little orange butt there. Take away my waist, and then I'm going to whip finish that off. Okay, when you're cutting away, don't take plenty of thread or plenty of globe right off the thread bobbin, and don't cut it tight to the hook. Leave it. We're going to use that for a rib. Okay. We're then going to switch to some classic wax thread, red, and we're going to attach that to the hook. Great fly pattern. Probably one of the best spring days fishing on Loughs I ever had. I was out and about. It was a few years ago. Most Valentine weekends or opening weekend season, we'd go to the Corrib, myself, my dad, a few friends, and we'd go over there to Ballindiff, and we'd fish out with Joe Trill and Anthony and a few of the lads out of that area. And we had a little bit of wax in that thread there now before I put on this. I'm just going to find the wax here. But anyway, one of the best days was, it was quite mild. It was nice, lovely weather. And I managed, I think it was 6 trout for the day, 6 good trout for the day. Every one of them was caught on this fiery brown dabbler. Really, really good early season fly. There's a couple of crucial colours you got to have in the dabblers. Very good early season fly, representing shrimp. So that time of the year, trout tend to gorge themselves on shrimps and stuff like that, some fry and things, because you don't have really many hatches around that time of the year. So we're just dubbing up that body, leaving a little bit of that orange showing there for us. This is the fiery brown seals for mix I have here. Absolutely, Kieran. Yeah, great to be so close to the season now, folks. I know a lot of people have already started, but for me personally, it's always Patrick's Day. That's why I always run the show right up until Patrick's weekend. So next weekend's our last weekend, but after that, then it's time to go fishing, folks. I'm sure I'll check in, which is over the winter months or the summer months at some stage. Got a little bit of a kind of reddish brown hackle here, and we're going to add that in there. Nice simple little fly, but absolutely deadly. Say early season, and look, it's not just early season. I've had plenty of success in Corrib in September on this fly as well, but it's just one of those nice simple patterns that's a must have for that time for early season fishing. Wind up our hackle. Take your glow bright tag in now, and just the same as you would any rib. Rib it up there. How you doing, David Hannaford? Lovely bit of brightness in this fly with that glow bright. Just tie it off at the end there. A couple of turns, make sure it's well secured in. You don't want it slipping back on it. Take away our waist. Of course, said Sebastian McMichael is going to be on with us tonight, folks, from Ban Valley Flies, sharing lots of great information on some great patterns that would be very useful this time of the year. Great to have a chat with Sebastian. A little bit of a brush back just to get a nice taper back on those hackles, as you can see. And good. Okay, question. How you doing, Dalty? Dalty, good to have you on there from Donegal. Do I fish that as part of a team? Yes, absolutely, Chris Oliver. When over here, and I'm not sure where you're from, but when I'm fishing lock style, it's always 3 flies on my team, and the positioning of each fly would be crucial. This one I can fish top dropper, point, pretty good. Never really had much success in the middle. Top dropper or point, very good fly. A little bit of bronze mallard here now, of course, as usual. We're going to cloak it. Take out about 1.25 inches of a strip, like so. place it into where you see your length. So I go 2/3 above the hook, 1/3 below the hook is my rule of thumb. Okay, so depending the length of my legs, early season dabblers, I like the legs to be a lot longer. Thanks, Donald. A little bit longer for the early season dabblers. Summer dabblers, I'll shorten it up a bit for the early season one. So 2/3 above, 1/3 below. Pinch it in on top like that and just let the thread roll it right around the fly. You can just manipulate it a little bit then. Make sure you got a nice cloaking on it. Nice even cloaking the whole way around. That's quite a big dabbler, size 10. Hook as I mentioned. Camazan. But a long cloaking on that one. For a nice opportunistic trout. Hunting some freshwater shrimp in along by the margins or in along by some rocky shores or where there's a bit of rock or sand or rock or stone gathering, and there might be some there will be some shrimp knocking about, and they can gorge themselves on that kind of stuff this time of the year. I take another little pinch, bit of a fold, and just tie that in on the top. I just like the top to be a little bit heavier. Should get a nice even spread on it. How you doing, Ben? Ben Worley's on with us there from up Avon. Tidy up the head. And they're lovely. Perfect. Now say if I was tying that as a summer or an autumn dabbler, it would be a lot shorter in the legs. But for the springtime stuff, I want that to be long. You know, trout are hungry. Give them something to eat. That now a little bit of good question, Kieran. I suppose it depends on the style of fly you're tying or your personal style of tying, Kieran. That's the way I've always done it. There we have it, folks. Fiery brown dabbler. Nice big long bushy one, perfect for those early season waves. That's certainly going to get you fish if they're on the hunt. You got that lovely bit of orange coming through, as you can see in the underbody. A little bit of brightness there. Trout will spot that and just attack. Very simple. Don't bother with any jungle cock or any of that kind of stuff. And that it's good enough on its own. It doesn't need it. Really good pull and fly for early season. And thanks, Vincent. And one definitely for the box, folks. There we go. Right, we're going to move straight on into another dabbler pattern. Another very important colour for the start of the season. Like there's other colours. Claret's really important. Olive, fire brown, gold and olive. Silver can be quite good as well, because if they're fry chasing, well then, you know, silver dabbler, thanks Ricky, you know, can do the business for you too. I'm just going to tidy up here a little bit, just move some stuff out of the way and get to the next one. But olive is a very, another must have. Okay, especially sooty olive or dark olive, whichever you prefer, must have. And this is another cracking dabbler. This one has had a lot of success over the years, not just for me personally, but for a lot of people I've tried it for. Really good dabbler pattern. I'm going to start off and put in, thanks Michael, thanks Kevin, Ricky, Robert. Hey, absolutely, Robert Flaherty's just on there. Hare's ear dabbler too, absolutely crucial for fishing this time of the year as well. Tie and thread for this one, let me think. Yeah, black tie and thread for this one. So this is a sooty or a dark olive dabbler. Going to put in with a black thread on that Camazan B175. Cock Robin dabbler also is a great fly. Absolutely, Desmond. There's lots of, yeah, you're all in the same theme there of that kind of very natural colours. For the tail of this one, I got a bit of dark olive dyed pheasant tail here. Or pheasant tail dyed dark olive, should I say. Now we're going to tie that in there. Secured and well on top of the hook. Hi Paul Cal, hope you're keeping well. Now for the, let's have a look at this pattern. This one's already tied here in the box. Whoever's going to win it on Wednesday, don't forget to share. So rib here again, we're going globe right. We're going globe right number 3. This time I want a double. Okay, so I'm going to strip off a section here. take it off the spool, and I'm going to double it up and tie in both tag ends. I just want a heavier rib on it than a single strand, just so it stands out that little bit more. Tie it in there. We're going dark olive seals for. A little bit of wax in that tray just to help it get nice and tight for us. Tease out by that. And place it at the back of the tray and just wrap it around that thread. Today was our first day out after being locked up for the week. Great to be able to get out today for a bit. And there was a few people looking to call to the shop, but I had to get out and go and do a few jobs around the house and stuff. Where did I get the fiery brown seals for? Tom, yeah, a fiery brown seal. Right, for the hackle here. Seals fur is getting harder and harder to get, but I think I might have actually found a bit actually. No, actually I was on it ordering a few bits from my website the other night for the shop here, and I actually managed to come across a nice bit of seals fur. It'll be coming to the store soon. Don't forget, if anybody's looking for any flies or fly tying gear or fly fishing gear for the coming season, do check out pescarifly.com or give us a shout here. I got a grizzly dyed dark olive cock neck here that I'm actually using for this one. I'll get another turn on that. Now before you can see what I'm doing with my fingers and hand here behind, so what I'm doing is I'm spinning that thread. How you doing, Declan Doyle? Declan Doyle, how you doing, Peter Wadding? I'm spinning that in my finger and thumb there, that double-stranded globe right, just to get it into a single strand as such. And I start ribbing up that body. So it has a real nice subtle redness, a little bit of colour into that. Dabbler. Take away our waste. Tidy up that end. Stroke back all those hackles. And give it a little brush. Declan, I've seen you've been out in the lakes there a few times. How's it been going for you, Declan Doyle? So you managed to get out there for a day or two, a few posts there on social media. Little bit of a brush back as always, just to get that nice taper back look on that hackle. As you can see there now, lovely dark. And you can see that subtle red coming through that body. Lovely little fly. Lovely cut, that dark olive, and that's Globe Right number 3 is the one we're using on that one there. Hi Mick Malumphey's on with us there as well. Betty Hayes. Yeah, well, absolutely. That's right, I miss doing the shows as well. I think Deirdre leave and miss me doing the shows. She won't have the Saturday nights to herself anymore, should I say. But I miss doing those shows now after next week. You kind of get used to doing them and you look forward to them. Kind of on a Wednesday you start really thinking about them and plotting and planning what patterns am I going to do and doing a bit of research and stuff like that. I'm going to take out a little bit of bronze mallard here now, dyed dark olive. I only dyed it myself during the week. But yeah, going to miss doing the shows as well, Betty, and glad everyone enjoyed them. Everyone seemed to enjoy them anyway, unless that is all just filling me, but everyone seemed to enjoy them, and should look at it. If the want is there for next year, I'll be more than willing, happy to sit here for a few Saturday nights next season as well. So we've already done a bit of planning on what I'm going to do for next season. We're going to take it up a notch or two again, folks, if we can. A little bit of dark olive. Again, longish enough tails in it, 1/3 below, 2/3 above, and just use that thread to wrap it around that hook. So you get a lovely even cloak on that then. Trim it away. Tidy up a little bit. Now, we're still not finished with this one. I'm going to take a little bit of red holographic, Hen's red holographic. I'm just pulling off 2 strands of that Hen's holographic. Stuff I like. Graham Reggie. No, 3 more weeks. No, season starts now, Graham. So I'm tying half of that back. There. Season starts now, Graham, and then I just fold it over and tie. So we've got 4 strands basically evenly spaced across the top of that fly. Okay, I don't cut them off yet. Leave them alone for the moment. And we're then going to go to natural bronze mallard. I have some here somewhere. And I'm going to do another little bit of a cloaking on top of that again. Of course, make sure you always steam up your bronze mallard before. It makes doing these dabblers so much easier if you have them steamed. Steaming up. And lovely dabbler, lovely big chunky dabbler, this one. Very fishy, beautiful and wet. That red in the rib and that little bit of holographic red coming up. If your eye gets a little bit choked, we've got quite a bit up there. I use my thumbnail just to push that back, tighten it all up. A couple of more turns and then just tidy it up a little bit with scissors. And it'll be good to go. Start down at the eye, work your way up. Take your time, build a nice head on it. Absolutely, Robbie. Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful fly. Yeah, I do. I love tying dabblers, especially dabblers like that. That secondary cloak of the dark olive underneath them with the nice light brown on top. The nice natural brown bronze mallard on top. Now I'll trim off those once I get them roughly around the end of the length of the legs. Don't trim them off too early because you often find you can trim them off a bit short and then you don't get that real nice look. But I can tell you now that's a cracking dabbler, folks. That right there. Probably one of the best early season dabblers you're gonna get your hands on. Very simple, but very, very effective. And not overdressed. That's the thing I like about a dabbler, like that kind. Those 2 dabblers, they're simple. There's a bit in them, but they're not overdressed. There's no jungle cock or nothing on them or legs or something like that. Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Graham. But good simple dressings, but just well dressed. Nicely cloaked and really good early season. You see a lot of legs there, and that's there to catch those fish that are hunting the shrimp. Gorging themselves in early season shrimp flies, and really good patterns too there. Now you must have a few of the other guys mentioned a few there as well. Hare's Ear, Robert Flaherty, absolutely. And I was tying with a cock robin dabbler tonight, Desmond Paul. I was going to do it. Thanks, Kevin. I was going to do a cock robin dabbler, but I said cock robin versus. I had to do this one anyway. That's definitely one I was going to do. But the cock robin versus the fiery brown. The fiery brown won out in my decisions at the end of it. But really good pattern. I'm just using normal thread for those, Ben. A simpler fly, actually. Simpler fly, classic waxed is what I'm using on those 8.0. Use a lot of that kind of on colour threads. Everything else I'm using Piscari fly Kevlar. But just for those likes of those dabblers and stuff, it's classic waxed by simpler fly. Good strong stuff. And not too bulky either. So there we go, folks. There's our first 2 Lough style flies for early season tonight. Now, as I mentioned earlier on the start of the show, Sebastian McMichael. I always have to think about how to pronounce that name. Sebastian McMichael from Ban Valley Flies. He has a great selection of flies. He also does a great selection of hackles and stuff like that. We have them here in the shop. All these lovely hackle packs. They're so easy. Great to use. Really packaging and quality of the materials is fantastic. Big long genetic saddles, neck hacks, and lots of different colours. You'll see them on our website there. They've been flying out the door there for the last couple of weeks. But he's a great range of flies there as well up on his website, banvalley.net. But anyway, I caught up with Sebastian last night for a bit of a chat about early season Lough style flies. Interesting conversation. So we're going to head over there now and have a look at that little bit of an interview. I'm going to be coming back and we're going to be talking when I come back. Gorgeous Georges. Gotta have him on that early season cast. And we're going to do a zonker for any fry chasers. An interesting little zonker pattern that I've been doing for a number of years. So Kevin, that's for a pulling fly for Lough style. Drifting boats is basically what you're doing. Your team of dabbler can represent a lot of things. Works dabblers, the amount of different dabbler patterns out there is phenomenal over the years. They've been so well developed. But can represent a multitude of things, but just one of those set of flies you have to have a selection dabblers going lock style. That's what they're for, Kevin. Hope that helps. But anyway, we're going to head over to Sebastian. I'll come back then. We're going to got another couple of flies, folks. Don't forget, Dave's going to be on with his trivia quiz. And if you haven't hit that share button already, hit that share button, and I'll see you all in a few minutes. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Tackle Talk. So tonight's been all about early season lock style flies. And, you know, we've been looking at a couple of nice patterns there. So far, we got another couple coming in a few minutes. But we're joined here tonight now by the one and only Sebastian McMichael from Ban Valley Flies up there in Tyrone. How you doing, Sebastian? Thanks very much for taking time to talk to us tonight.
Thanks, Peter. Great to be here.
Good stuff. How are you all keeping up in Tyrone?
Good. Dodging COVID and nuclear bombs and all kinds of stuff.
You wouldn't know what's coming next. We don't know what's coming next. You thought 2020
and 2021
were bad. Huh?
So thank God for a bit of fishing to go clear your head.
Yeah, all about to kick off now. So, Sebastian, I suppose for anyone that doesn't know you or anyone that hasn't met you before, you're based up in Tyrone. Your business is Ban Valley Flies. Your business is flies, of course. So just to get a bit of a context on yourself and your business, where did it all start for you? Or what's the story behind Ban Valley Flies?
Where did it start? I think I bumped my head somewhere along the way.
Like us all.
Yeah. No, I had a mad interest in fishing in general from I was 5-6 year old. I really wanted to go fishing all the time. When it got to about 10, I had a neighbor who started talking to me about this older person I knew who made their own artificial flies. So he produced this little rusty tobacco tin with a few flies in it. Right. And I remember just being like completely amazed by this whole idea. We had just used spinners and worms and, you know, done a bit of sea fishing and, you know, but any freshwater fishing was all spinning up until that point. So when I think back, it's quite funny because, you know, there are flies now that to me and to you are so common, you know, teal blue silvers and butchers and, you know, then in all these names, bloody butcher and these things that now are, you know, you see them all the time. Whereas back then, this was all brand new, you know. So that's how I got into it. I started then this interest in iron flies and got a little kit. And it's just one of those things that it was just in front of me to do. You know, it just started to happen, and I had a shop that was 20 minutes from where I lived that was run by Albert Atkins, who was and still is a very well known fly tyer, salmon and lock style. So I used to get my fly tying materials there, and then as I got older, I went and started learning to tie flies and tied flies for him for the shop. And worked in the shop. And do you know this? I would have done it for free.
Of course, fabulous.
It wasn't about the money. It was about, you know, doing something you love and you know, being around the shop and all the stories of anglers coming in. And all of a sudden, it went from a few teal blue and silvers and wet flies to, you know, I was seeing these big mayflies and dabblers and, you know, I mean, I remember there was temple dog flies that were tied for people who were going to Norway. And this was mind blowing, this whole world of flies and fly tying. And then I wanted to go out and try these flies and fish for these fish and all these amazing stories you were hearing. So that's been my sort of trajectory, if you want, in fly tying and fly fishing, you know.
And how then did Ban Valley Flies and commercially supplying shops with flies come about from there?
Well, we always did supply shops. So Bert himself had, you know, the flies for Galway, for the Weir and for the Corrib, and we would have basically all around the country in those days. He was tying flies and I was tying some of them as well. I was just a helper. So we did that. And then towards the end of his fly time career, that wound down. And it was kind of natural for me to pick it up and keep going. That it was something I had done, something I'd been involved in. So the natural next step for me was to, pick up on some of those patterns and some of those colors and dyes and stuff. And then try and modernize and, add new fly patterns, which are coming out all the time.
Of course,
and it's sort of snowballed from there. It's just been something that's gradually, moved forward bit by bit.
Supplying the flies, and is it busy? You busy time of the year?
Yeah, busy. Been very, very busy here. I think particularly with the shops, COVID was interesting with flies because with only one or two people being able to be in the shop, wasn't the same opportunities for people to stand and browse flies. So we're really busy online, like on our monthly subscriptions and things like that. Have all been quite busy over COVID. But now that everything's opening up, the wholesale side, to the shops, we've put in some really good displays into shops around the country the last couple of months. So and there's loads of new patterns that I was messing about with over lockdown.
COVID, so that's a nice
lockdown killers.
Very good, brilliant. That's an interesting story. All right, it's it's great. And I come from a very similar background of being mad into fly fishing as a young lad, building it up over the years, just finding ways in life to steer your path. And fly fishing is always that carrot that's in front of you. Careers and everything. I know before we came on to record, we were talking about career stuff. Careers just wish across in front of you, but that fly fishing straight line, straight down the road is something that's always there. So it's great when people can turn that into, a bit of an opportunity to create to have their income out of and create a business out of it. So you're up in Tyrone. Whereabouts are you normally fishing then throughout the season?
My fishing these days, I was fishing a few local sort of stock lakes, larger stock lakes early, but really and truly, Lough would be my favourite spot. From about the second week in March, basically from now, good mild weather like we've got now. Lough I would do a little bit of Melvin, but I tend to move over to Melvin later on. Into once the mayfly starts to pass on Lough then I would go down to Lough Melvin. But Ern's my main fishing early on.
And what's the fishing like? What are you looking forward to? A good season up there this year?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking. I know we're going to discuss early season flies, and I find the early season is actually one of my favorite times on the Lough, especially Lough later on in the year, as you know, like hatches can be sporadic and you can get a few good days where it's magic. But I find like once you're in the second week in March, good mild weather, you'll get much more consistent fishing. You can go out and get a couple of fish pulling wets. And that's what I really look forward to, and I like trying something new. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's me or whether other anglers can relate, but catching a fish a different way, whether that's
tweaked, absolutely, absolutely,
that really interesting. So whether it's fishing larger, fry patterns and trying to fish some of the drop-offs rather than going for your normal drifts and trying to pick up some of those bigger fish that tend to be caught by guys trawling, spinners and things.
Right.
I seen me going out today, maybe getting one decent fish on a minky or something. And yes, it's not as nice as dry fly fishing, but it's something different,
I know, yeah, absolutely. Trying something different. And talking about early season fly fishing, before we get into the real crux of the flies, what sort of options are out there for guys going Lough style early season? Sebastian, what sort of approaches are you generally taking? Are you generally seeing?
Well, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm the expert in all things Lough, because I'm really not. I know my own fishing, but I suppose I'm in the privileged position where people are communicating with me about what flies are working all the time, and my experience so far has been that early season, shrimp patterns, in around the rocks,
Okay.
especially if you can get it. This is something I learned recently. The level of the loch is very, very high, especially early in the year. The reeds and the normal grass lines, if your water is higher than the standard level and it's up onto the grass line and up into the reeds, apparently what happens, and some people can probably verify this for us, shrimps start to eat the rotten reeds and rotten wood and things like that. You start to get more activity with your shrimps and your hog louse and things like that. So I'd found sometimes early in season, I was getting fish right up. You nearly could throw your flies onto the grass and pull them back into the lake. And other times you were getting them just that, sort of 2 or 3 foot of water. I could never figure out what the difference was. But it seems to be that when the loch's really high, fishing those patterns in the real shallows is what seems to do the trick,
Right, yeah. It was where I grew up, actually, up in the Roundwood in County Wicklow. There's reservoirs there, and the water levels would drop quite significantly throughout the season, be a bit, whatever, it depends on demand on the water supplies in Dublin and stuff. But like, if the lakes are high, there's this overbrush that kind of comes down onto the shore of the lake, and it hangs very low. It's black bush. And if the lake is high and it's up and around there, if you're not losing flies in the bush or getting caught in the stones on the bank, you won't have a chance of catching trout.
There you go. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I find that like whenever that's happening, your big wets, like your dabblers, green dabblers, gold dabblers, fiery browns, even gorgeous Georges, anything big and
Gorgeous George is a great fly. Yeah. And actually, just why we have the Gorgeous George. The man that invented the Gorgeous George, Paul Cantillon, he was actually in the shop here a while ago, and I met him. We were chatting anyway, and he kindly set me up. He sent me up 2 originals of his. It's his Sooty George. He sent up lovely Sooty George, and then he sent up.
Oh, that's my favorite one too. I find it more fishing.
I'm going to tell you Sooty George now after the interview, but there's the. I know the camera's not great there for you, but there's his original golden olive George. I keep those 4 flies. He sent me 2 of each, and they'll never see water. What a lovely fly. Gorgeous George is a fantastic fly. Yeah. So you're saying, George, it's a good early season fly too.
Really good early season fly, and that he calls it the Sooty George. I have one, the Green George, which is the same sort of style as that darker one, and I find it just it's just a good fly in general. You can nearly fish it any time,
So that's it. It's so fishy, like trout would take it.
Yeah,
trout would take it. So what sort of stuff then would you be really using then? I know you start tipping on it there a bit to get a bit more directly into the patterns. Early season loch style patterns, pulling for those fish. If you start with the pulling or let's talk about shrimp. You mentioned loch style shrimp patterns there. What kind of patterns are you talking about there for those shrimp?
Well, I think some of your traditional wets will work, but I found actually a lot of the time when you're fishing the shrimp, if you can get a good wave,
right,
you'll get a lot of the shrimp getting knocked out of the stones and knocked out of the reeds and stuff. And your big dabbler patterns, and a lot of the time it's to do with the color because you're pulling it quite fast,
Yeah.
So I found that, your muddy olives and your greens will work.
And is that because the shrimp is swimming like sort of that way through water and it's the long kind of...
I don't think it's even to do with the way the shrimp is. I don't think it's even to do with the way the shrimp's swimming. I think it's the fish are looking for this silhouette.
Okay.
And they're zoomed in on these shrimp, and the waves are big and they're crashing.
Yeah.
And anything moving, they're going for it as long as but it has to have that profile. And I think that's the
profile of a dabbler, like the profile of a long-legged dabbler.
I mean, if you pull, there's dabbler. I know that's got a long tail. You can even pull the tail off it, but I don't, but it's all this. It's all this. Like if you look, see all this at the end.
Yeah.
Like that's just shrimp feelers there,
Yes.
And the color, I think it's that fish like color. Like they definitely go for particular.
So early season, and you're talking about olives, dark olives, mucky olives, kind of brown olives.
Today's actually you can go bright. One of my best flies is a golden dabbler. I think it's one of them here. They like a golden color. Here now.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
That
So
kind of
yeah,
golden color can be really good. Um, I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, sometimes I'll put like a bibio on the top just for a little black natural pattern in case there's fish looking for small duck flies. But generally in those more windy wave, when there's a good wave on, stripping those dabblers, you just can't go wrong, and it's a great way if you're trying to get somebody a fish, because it's a bit more forgiving, if you're
right.
gonna fish, if you get softer weather and maybe small duck fly and stuff hatch and completely
Yeah, of
different
course
game.
they come off early season. Yeah,
And it's a completely different game altogether. You're down onto little small wets and maybe a bit better presentation. You could even be fishing floating lines to keep your flies really high up in that small corduroy ripple.
yeah. And then moving away from the shore end of things, for those shrimp feeders and stuff like that, going into more rocky, shelfy water. You mentioned there as well earlier on fishing minkies and stuff like that, chasing for big fish.
Yeah.
Moving away from those shores, is there particular patterns that you would fish early season, or would you see or hear people fishing early season for fishing that kind of rocky, rocky areas where trout are in
Yeah.
hunted in around the rocks? And
Well,
what sort of stuff are they fishing
I
there?
have a I have a minky that I use. It's like dark brown mink fur down the back and two big eyes on it, and that's my favorite fly.
Right.
That's my go-to, and I get fish on it. And some in around 4 or 5 foot of water, and particularly if you can get a drop off. I haven't landed any really big fish, but I've hooked one or two real good fish that have come off on me just in those real drop offs. But you know, you'll get 3 4 pound fish on them.
Oh,
Um,
lovely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm talking
And
about
would those
Lough.
fish be fry chasing early season?
I don't know if they are. I don't know if they are. I think they're just looking for large food items. I think
Right.
they've come off the winter and they're just starting to feed up again.
And is that something that you have in mind, selecting your flies as well, Sebastian? That, it is being a long, I know nymphing on rivers, our game, that, definitely I'll be fishing big caddis patterns, that bit of bigger food because the trout they're hungry and they're on the hunt. Are you doing the same with your fly patterns size wise?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, brown trout, like are hunters. They eat other fish. So early season fishing those big fry bait. I mean, I hear people talking about humongous being a really good pattern for it, although it's not one that I use.
Yeah, in the Midlands on Lough and places like that now, humongous is on the point will, give you a great opportunity at some really good fishing.
I mean,
Yeah.
I even hear people in places like Corrib saying that like if they're gonna draw a blank, they'll stick a humongous on, and generally
Right.
it'll
Yeah.
pull them out of a blank day.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sort of other then kind of early season patterns would you be leaning? Well, what even sales wise, what sort of a trend do you see in sales and as regards what the shops are looking for early season? What's the stuff that they can't be without?
Well, I think some of what we covered, minky patterns, leggy patterns have become huge. You know, and
Daddy
all
legs,
these
like, or not at pheasant tail legs.
knotted pheasant tail legs,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
for
I'm
for
just
tying
burning
like
through that stuff. Yeah, we're
yeah,
here time flies. Everyone wants legs on everything. Legs, 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 legs.
yeah, yeah. So I've got like I've got some people who don't want it; they just want standard bumbles,
Yeah.
But like leggy patterns, all the little gorgeous George patterns, like people
Yeah.
just don't seem to be can't get enough of those,
Yeah.
right through the season.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
very popular. Yeah.
It's either
Yeah.
it either seems to be that or really natural. Go to like I've got little patterns there, like what's called a duck fly panel, which is like a
Right.
black panel, but it's got a peacock body.
Okay. Right.
So it's a very natural, and there's a little bit of white in the hackle. So it's a little buzzer pattern, little duck fly
Yeah.
pattern. That kind of thing. Seems to work really well. So I think that's it. You've either got your anglers who are just out wanting to pull wets, and they'll
Right.
just have their favorite wets that they'll go to as attractors. And then on the other hand, you've got the guys who are, really going after those trout that are on the feed after buzzards or duck fly, and they're looking for something a wee bit more discerning.
Right.
They're either looking for their epoxy buzzards, or they're looking for their little small wets, you know. I
I
did a
know what
little
you
range
mean,
of I did a little range of wets this year, you know, like I think maybe one of them here. They're like copper olives and things like that, you know, just for guys who want those more natural patterns, you know.
Okay,
really,
right.
you know, but they'll work. I'll show you one of these now. These will work for like shrimps. They'll work for, you know, little olive duck fly coming off.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're nice. Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
You know, and then obviously once you get through March into April and there are actual olives hatching, you know, I find that to be a pretty popular fly just because it ticks a lot of boxes, you know.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like the Georges. They just tick a lot of boxes for what Trump like to see. Yeah.
You get you get olive duck fly as well, you know. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose before we finish up and get back to doing a few flies, I suppose if there was someone, if anyone's watching there now and they're going to go on and they're going to select a few flies off your website, or if you were out in the lake right now, Sebastian, and you had to pick your 4 flies that's going to go up on your casts, and you can only bring them 4. You can only bring them 4 flies with you. You can't bring that big Ban Valley chest that you do carry around with you now with your thousands of flies in there. But you can only bring 4 flies on the lake with you. Now go and say, let's say early March. You're going out into the lake tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. So you're going out into the lake tomorrow and you're allowed to bring 4 flies with you and you have to catch some fish. What's the 4 flies you're going to select?
Bring either a black or a brown minky.
Right.
I'll be happy with either. Genuinely happy with either. I'm not cheating. Out of some sort of a golden dabbler.
Right.
I'd probably have that sooty George. Like green George.
Right.
How many's that now? I'm 3 now.
That's 3. Yeah. You got 1 more fly to choose.
Something small and black. Duck fly pennel or a Connemara black or something along those lines.
Yeah. There you have it, folks. They're the flies you need to pick up off Sebastian now, and Ban Valley flies for the start season if you're heading out.
I'll be in trouble now if it don't work.
Yeah, I'll put up Sebastian's phone number and email there afterwards, and if you don't get any fish on him, you can ring him directly and let him know. No, there we go. Some sound advice there. Sebastian, what's kind of tippet? I'm always intrigued by lads' choices of tippet, and I think I've asked nearly everyone on the show this year. Fluorocarbon versus mono.
I use fluorocarbon.
Right.
Hold on 2 seconds. Hold on.
You're grand?
I'm in the middle of recording. Please leave. Take 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds. Can you pause the recording?
Yes. No. That's the best thing about doing live shows is everyone's normal. We don't pretend to be it, but normal people living normal lives. Hiccups have happened, but just sorry, you were saying I was asking the question there, mono versus fluoro. So you're a fluoro. You use
mono versus fluoro. Hold on. I don't know. I use fluorocarbon all the time these days.
Right. Yeah.
But if I was being brutally honest, for wet fly fishing,
just pulling,
I think I should have mono because I'm fed up with fluorocarbon going curly.
Yes.
It doesn't look great after a while, especially on a windy day, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, it's always intrigued to hear people's thoughts on that debate. I think it's a debate. It's a topic that a lot of research could be done on, and very thought-provoking research on mono versus fluorocarbon and people's rationales behind why they use what they use. But I'm always intrigued. Do you normally generally fish 4 flies, Sebastian, or 3?
3. Just 3. Yeah. I don't know why. I just always fish 3.
Same as that now. Yeah. I'd often be in boats with lads fishing 4, but no, I just
I think I developed my lock style fishing using a 10-foot rod.
Right.
And I think
that'd be
I think if you're using 11 or 11'6", and that was your kind of baptism into lock style fishing,
you can fit the 4 flies on.
4 flies is fine, but if you're on a 10-foot rod, like you're either gonna have them too close together, or you're gonna just have an awful long leader.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay, well, look, I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks a million for your time, Sebastian. Of course,
Thank
folks,
you.
Sebastian's website is www.banvalley.com. Make sure and check it out. Sebastian, really appreciate your sound advice on what fly patterns to pick for this year. We're going to go
No
back
worries.
upstairs now and tie it, our last two patterns for tonight, folks. And we'll say goodnight, Sebastian. Thanks, Sebastian.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. All right, Peter. Catch
And we're back. We're back here live. Hope he's enjoyed that. Thanks a million to Sebastian for that bit of insight into. I left that little bleeper in there for him. Hope he had a bit of a chuckle at it. You can't help these things, but we don't like it too fancy here. We like to keep it real. These things happen. Absolutely, Declan. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Robert. Hope he's enjoyed it. Huge thanks, Sebastian, for taking his time out. Thanks, Dave. Huge thanks, Sebastian, for taking his time out there. His busy schedule. I know he'll be very busy up there, especially this time of the year, to have a bit of a chat and give us a bit of an insight into what kind of stuff works. Give us a bit of a handout there to choose what we're going to be fishing this time of the year. Now, of course, say Sebastian, Ban Valley Flies, www.banvalleyflies.net. And Sebastian kindly texted me today and said that following the show here, there will be a 10% discount on his website following the show for all you guys that want to stock up on a few flies for this year, and free postage. So if you're looking to stock up on a load of lock style flies there from Ban Valley, knock onto his website there. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, James. Thanks, Tony. Knock on to Ban Valley there, and there's a 10% discount that lasts till the 7th of March. Okay, couple of days there. I think that's Monday. You get 10% off and free postage there on Ban Valley Flies. So check it out, banvalley.net. Don't forget, they've got a great selection of amazing hackles and stuff. We have them here in store, so log on there. You can get them. All these different little hackle packs and stuff like super handy. I find myself using these so much lately. It's unbelievable. All the different colours, save dyeing capes or buying full capes of different colours. If you want something in particular, just pick up a few hackle packs, check them out. Right, so folks, we're going to move on. As you know, we were talking there a little bit on that clip about the Gorgeous George. What a fly, Paul Cantillon. Well done. It's absolutely amazing. Had the pleasure of meeting the man recently. He called to the shop here for a few bits. And he kindly posted me up a couple of his patterns. He's Gorgeous Georges. They're there. They're safe. Have them there, and someday they'll be framed. They'll never be fished, and I can tell you. But fantastic! What a fly! Variations across the globe at the moment. Dave is on there as well, folks. Question coming up. Got a lovely little spot prize for you there tonight. A lovely little, as you can see, fly box with a trout design in it. Okay, both sides. Lovely little fly box that's going out tonight for the prize. Dave has asked a question. I didn't get a chance to ring Buzz Dave today at all because first day out of lockdown of COVID, and I was too busy running around the place trying to get bits done with kids and stuff like that. So I don't know what Dave's going to ask tonight. So it's anyone's guess. I don't even have an insight. So keep an eye out there. But back to the Gorge George. What a fly! Probably I always regard, and I've spoke about it before, and I've tied a couple of variations of it, and I've several variations of it that I do tie or get requested for quite a bit. Probably for me, the best middle fly, best middle dropper fly you could have, always goes up in the middle. I'm sure it's fished well and it's very successful on the top and the point as well. But for me, it's always a middle fly. Very hard to find a really good solid middle fly. But anyway, I'm going to tie a dark olive variation of it. Not too far off Paul's. A few little things missing. I'm not going to attempt to copy the original. I probably won't do it justice. So I'm going to just do this little variation that I've done countless times. Some very similar traits to what Paul does. Bit of red tying thread on a Camazan B175 size 10. Hope everyone's enjoying the evening, folks. Thanks for all your messages. I got a few messages in there saying about being the last show. So, by the way, hi to all our YouTubers. We hope that next year we will be streaming live to YouTube as well as Facebook at the same time for people that are not on Facebook. We'll see how it goes during the summer. We've got some great plans for our new show coming up next year already. Not going to give too much away, but some really, really exciting stuff happening. It's been a great season. We've had great viewership over the season, and it's been well worth doing, and I hope you've really enjoyed it. I have certainly enjoyed doing it. I'm going to thank everyone for the support. I'm not going to thank everyone now. I'm sure next week, I'll have to go through the whole list of all our contributors and stuff like that. So next week will be our last show for this season, folks. In there, I've just tied in a little bit of Globe number 7. There's a little tag. I'm then going to take a little bit of my dark olive that I dyed up during the week, bronze mallard, and I'm going to put in a little tail on top of that. And don't forget, you can win tonight's flies and any ones I would have done in practice prior to the show by just sharing the stream or sending in a comment. So a little bit of bronze mallard and twist around to get it on top of that Globe, like so. Secured in well. Dave is on here now. Approximately how many mayfly hatch on the Mississippi River each year? Well, there's a question. I wasn't expecting that one, Dave. Approximately how many mayfly hatch on the Mississippi? I'm looking forward to that. Robert Flaherty's on there. There's chalk and cheese. Jim Myler was on straight away with 3, 2, 3, and Robert Flaherty 100 million. There's some. I'm looking forward to the answer to that one, Dave. Keep me informed, will you, of what's the correct 11 million, Jerry Morgan. So here for the rib, I'm tying in a bit of pearl number 16, Uni Mylar pearl, size 16. And by the way, as well, folks, if there's anyone out there that wants to contribute to the show with some content and stuff like that, we're open to any ideas here. Tony Rooney's on there with 25 million, Brendan Spillane, nil. Good guess, Brendan. But if anybody wants to contribute anything, through the show, I'm sure I'll be picking many of these off and different people off over the year. Little bit of dark olive seals for going in there now. But if anybody has something that they want to contribute to the show, or over the year we have been given lots of good feedback and stuff that maybe we could do to add to the show, and we will be adding a lot of that next year. We didn't do it this year. We said we'll save off to next year. But 801 billion, Graham Lonigan. Could this be Graham Lonigan's night, folks? Could this be his night? 801 billion. Gonna wind that up the body. But if anybody has anything they want to contribute or think that might be a good idea for the show for next year going forward, of how we can improve it for you guys, make it more entertaining, by all means do. Just shoot us across a message or an email, and we'll gladly take it on board. And say if people have something they want to contribute and say, I would like to come on and do an interview, or like come on and talk about this particular topic or that particular topic, we are more than willing to accommodate anybody. I'm going to add in a little bit of that dark olive grizzle that I used on that dabbler. I like that dark olive grizzle. That's the cape there. Well, what's left of it, it's been well ravaged by now, but it is a beautiful, beautiful cape. 1 trillion John Coughlin's on with there. Desmond Paul was 400 million. That's a lot of mayflies. Where's my hackle pliers gone now, folks? Here it is here. Going to wind it down the body. Yes, it does, Julie. Julie McGeever, it does. It does. All you got to share or comment, Julie. Very good. And you could win tonight's flies. Going to wind that down the body. And I take my pearl. Be careful when you're ribbing with pearl not to put too much, especially the finer pearl. Don't put too much pressure on it, because if you stretch it, it will turn blue. And we don't want that. I'm tying this in a size 10. Probably far nicer looking fly in a size 12. But when I actually just came back up before the videos, Robbie Berry's on there, 18 trillion. Holy moly. Few people are waiting to do their guess, their single guess. So you can see we got a nice pearl rib on that one. Paul's pattern that he sent me has a pearl rib on it as well. An absolute gentleman. A little bit of a brush back on that for myself. Get a little bit of seals for out there as well. Get a nice taper on it. Brilliant. There's some of that. There you go, folks. There's some of Paul's gorgeous in the charity lockbox. That's worth winning anyway. Okay, next thing we'll do is add in some knotted pheasant tail. In Paul's one that I received, it was black. but I'm using natural. Going to tie in a pinch of those, about 5 or 6 there. Just back roughly around. Hey, Ken Woodward's on with us there from California. How you doing, Ken? He's down there on his winter holidays. When are you heading back up to BC, Ken? Good to have you on there to see having a nice time there doing a bit of salt water. Before we add in our throat hack or our beard hack or our head hackle, I'm going to put a little bit of sunburst hen in there. David Unwin, says Ken Woodward was very close with 20 trillion, but the winner is Robbie Berry with 18 trillion. Wow. Good guess, Rob. That prize, that lovely fly box is head out to you on Monday morning, Rob. Well done, everybody. Great question, Dave. Great question. Thanks a million to Dave for all these questions. Hopefully we can re-sign him for next year. So I'm going to add in a little bit of that sunburst. Just up there in underneath. I'll take my time now, cleaning this out, make sure I don't cut any thread or anything out that I don't want. Then I'm going to take a little bit of dark olive saddle. And I'm going to add in a shoulder hacker there. Driving back in 2 weeks. So close, Ken, yeah. 2 weeks heading back. Will you go back to Tonka, Ken? Just under a shoulder hacker now. But tie in a nice little. What is that? You can fold those hackles back if you wish. I just tie it in like that for now, and then I'll get that back now in a second. Clean out my bit of waste. And then start beginning to form a little bit of a head there for a second. Probably a nicer fly in a 12, but nonetheless, still a very nice fly. Jungle cock. While you were watching the video, I was going through my jungle cock cape, collecting 2 little splits. One on either side. Just get the last little bit out there. Start down at the eye, build your head back up. Absolutely, Jim. Jim hopes that the guy that counted all those mayfly was well paid. I'd say he was fairly, yeah, I knew that whip finish. A little bit over bulky on the head. Whip finish can be a little bit tricky. Plus, I've changed whip finish recently. Because one that I was using for a long time there broke. And yeah, it does. It makes a hell of a difference. As you can see, normally I'd whip them off very quickly. And it's just bouncing off that hook for me there now. Because I'm trying to be extra cautious. Sometimes just doing that. Bounced again. It's okay. I got enough of a tie in it. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I only got my copy of it today, actually. Trout and Salmon. Yeah, they asked me to do a little bit of a piece. Well, I didn't do it. The actual one of the authors did the piece, but he asked me to give my top 6 patterns for the season, nymphs and lakes, and yeah, it was a lovely piece. Now I only had a quick glimpse at it. Now I'm going down after the show to thanks Bernard Mannion, going down after the show there to have a look at it. But there we go, there's a little take on a dark olive Gorge George, really good early season pattern as well. I liked a little bit of sunbursting underneath, little bit of orange in the tail, very, very effective pattern, really good one. Has been caught plenty of fish. Hope that did a little bit of justice to yours, Paul, but I don't think you could ever match the original. Absolutely stunning flies. But There we go, folks. Right, so we got one left to go. We're going to head over now. So again, of course, you know, you heard Sebastian mention streamers and stuff like that, minkies and stuff like that. And there's a couple of micro minkies I do tie that are very, very effective. And this is one of them here. Going to do it again on a Camazan B175. This little minky pattern, really good one for stripping across those shallow rocks and stuff like that. Aggressive trout, hungry trout early this season. Going to have a little drop of red ale there from Mr. Smiddix himself. Really, really good little fly, this one. And I'm going to just gather up what bits I need here for now and just get rid of some of this rubbish here. And then that'll allow me a bit of room to do it. Simple little Zonker pattern, but a few little key things that's worth mentioning. I'm going to switch back over to the Kevlar now. Camazan B175, putting in a bit of Kevlar. Our own Kevlar. I'll take out this little fly here now. I'm going to get a gawk out of it because... Okay. This is a little beauty. If I can get it exactly like I got it earlier on. I was tying it earlier on and before the show. And I tied it absolutely. You just tied the fly and it's absolutely perfect. Like, it just turned out exactly as you'd imagine it would. And I go to myself, oh, I hope I get the one on the show as good as that. If not, I have it beside me anyway, I can put it up. So what I've got here is a little bit of fire red Indian saddle, okay, Indian cape, and I'm just taking off. I was working away there without explaining to you what I was doing, but I'm just taking off one of those medium-sized hackles there, and I'm basically just going to tie in a little bit of a tail here on this fly. So it's a fire red or very close to a fire orange, but I think it's more of a red to my eyes. Just trim off those little waist ends there before you tidy it up. Secure them in there. Nice and well. Take a piece of 0.12 monofilament. Couple of inches of it there. Tie that in. Out the back. Secure that in well. You don't want that coming loose. That's the full length of the hook. Then we're going to get some Spectra fine Spectra UV. Okay. For our body. As you can see there, fine Spectra UV. Saboya is the brand. We have it in the shop below. I'm going to get a nice little clump body on that one. Stop a little bit short of the eye. Give yourself a bit of room. Okay, probably could have stopped a little bit shorter. Now, the Zonker we're using for this one, okay, we've got options. It's not going to be rabbit, it's not going to be mink, it's got to be squirt, okay, because it's really, really fine. As you can see, really fine, not too bushy, even though brown is a little bit heavier than the natural, but it's not oversized, okay, as regards rabbit or something like that. Thanks, John. John Coughlin received his prize there from last week. No Tommy fly tonight. Well done, Dylan Roberts. I was wondering who was going to be the first. I'm not finished yet. I still have the rest of this flight to tell you, Dylan. But who was going to? I was actually setting up tonight. I thought, oh my God, this must be the first show ever I'm doing, and I'm not bringing Tommy fly upstairs. But just in case, if I thought I was feeling a bit, I was feeling a little bit, had a little bit of what would you say? Whatever, a little bit of a relapse that I brought a bit Tommy fly just in case. Well done, Dylan. Well done. So we're going to use a little bit of brown, okay? A little bit of that brown Zonker and tie it in up there. I'll just reposition that camera just a little bit for a minute. Okay, once we've done our Zonker, Wet the fingers and get those fibres off. Rabbit is too long. It's too long for these small little streamers. Mink is okay. It's not bad. But squirrel is ideal for this particular style of fly. Plus, it's very spiky. You know, so when it gets wet, it still holds that little bit of spikiness. It's a lovely look to it for those small little fry patterns. They're small. You know, while we do tie minkies and fry patterns, and you know, our main objective there is articulation and stuff like that. These little fly patterns, it's the look, it's the silhouette, it's the profile that we're trying to achieve more so than the articulation in the tail. Okay, a little bit of movement in that tail is good. But when Sebastian's on there and he's just put up a link there of his the one he's mentioning. The one he mentioned there. So once I got that monofilament up there as the rib to secure in that minky strip or that little squirrel strip, well then I'll just lots of turns up there in the head. Make sure it's well secured in before you move on, folks. Or you could go another step or two further and next thing realise, oh crap, the monofilament has come out. That's the backbone of this fly. Secured all in well. Now we'll trim it off. So we'll trim it off roughly around the length of the tail. Just a little bit shorter than the length of the skin. I mean, trimming off the skin, the underskin. Just there. The tail itself will actually be a little bit longer than the, as you can see, a little bit longer than the actual tail itself. But that's our, thanks Jim. That's it there. Okay, we're going to go back to our cape here. And we're going to select a smaller style feather off it. I'm going to make sure I get the right kind of one here now. A little bit bigger than that. That one's not bad. Okay. No, it comes out that narrow, Kevin. Yeah, that's our own squirrel zonkers here. You can get them on our website, www.scaryfly.com. We have the squirrel in lots of colours. We have the mink in lots of colours, rabbit in lots of colours, and they come out that size. That's the size of them. There's a natural one that's a little bit finer, as you can see. But yeah, no, we have those. We have those all on the website there. Take my hackle pliers, and we're going to just wind on a little bit of hackle there for a minute. Don't come down near the eye. I'm trying not to hit the camera with it. 3 or 4 turns just up there, like that. Pressure onto the thread, pressure off the hackle. Take away your waste and fold them back. Make sure they're well folded back. Okay. Grand. Go back to your dubbin. The Irish Simon, yeah, they're lovely squirrel strips. Yeah, fantastic squirrel strips. We have the skins there as well. We have the full squirrel skins and the strips. The mink is exceptional, to be quite honest. Not just because we're selling it, but the mink is exceptional. The mink strips. I use them for all my snakes and stuff. Get a nice wedge of that body dubbing up there. Another little bit for the head. Unwind that a little bit. There's a little bit of some other colour of probably olive seals for or something got into that little pinch there, and it was just upsetting me a little bit. Just looking at time there, not too bad, 9:45. That's a little too much. Actually get a nice bit of dubbing up around the head of that. Probably. That's just, that last little bit is just not going in right for me. I'll take a little bit off that there. Unwind it a turn or two. Take a little bit off. There we go. It's a bit better. It's going to expose a little bit of that eye there, make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, we'll finish that off. We'll pull, lock that thread in tight. Take away that, we're not finished yet. Brush that head back so it comes back over the entire fly. Back up into the wing. You can see the way that hackles now are tapering back into the wing. And our head is tapering back. It almost takes a look of a muddler head. Keep brushing. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on that brush. I'm just glancing across it just to select some of the outer fibres of that dubbin to brush back for me, but not really digging in like I would on other occasions. Just to get a nice even taper back on that little zonker. Don't forget, this is a size 10 Camazan B175. You can see the look I got now and that lovely little bit of orange hackle going back there on the underbody and up over the wing and stuff. All right. Now we're going to add a couple of little eyes to that. Okay, now adding eyes to any particular fly is always, you know, should I even bother me backside, because more than likely, definitely burn it, because more than likely they're going to fall off. And that is true. Adding eyes sometimes, I feel sometimes nearly irrelevant. But there is, you know, a little fly like this, a little red eye is, you know, will be the difference of, you know, yeah, it makes a difference. It is beautiful. So the way I add on eyes to make sure they don't come off, there is, you know, there's no guarantee that they're not going to come off, but this is probably the best way I have found to add noise. Turn your fly to the side. Okay, what I'm going to do is take a dubbin needle, as you can see here, of my dubbin needle, right? And I'm going to just take one of those little eyes and sit it on the dubbin needle for the moment. These are adhesive. These are the Sabaya dubbin eyes. I think these are 2.5 mil, 3 mil maybe. I'm just going to take one off and I just stick it to the top of my dubbin needle. Okay. Put that down out of the way for a minute. It's not going to fall off once you're careful. Okay, free up your hands. Get your Solares tin Solares UV resin. The fly on the side, just with your finger, just press down, make sure that dubbin is nice and tight there on the top of where you're going to mount this. So this is the Solares tin, and I'm going to put a nice little blob right there where I want that eye. The best thing about Solares is I can sit here for 20 minutes and talk to you. That Solares is going to stay there. It's not going to set. It's not super glue until I'm ready to mount the eye. So now I've got my little eye sitting on the top of my needle, and I'll put it in position. And as soon as I get it into position, fairly close, I use my finger just to take it off the top of the needle and position it exactly where I want it. Again, the Solares will not set. You can move it and take your time until you're ready. Once you're ready then, oh, nearly dropped my pen and broke it, that'd be fun. So once you're ready and you've got your eye in position like so, I'll then place my finger on the eye and push it tight to the body. So it's not sitting out on the dubbin, and I'm pushing that resin inside there as well, actually, if you know what I mean, into the main structure of that fly. Hold it in tight, and just to the side, get a little zip in it, and I can tell you now, that's the best way to set an eye. Really is a good, yeah, best way I've found in a long time. Switch it over to the other side, lay it on the flat. Again, back to your needle, select the eye, get it onto the point of your needle. You can leave that down out of the way. You've got free hands this way as well, and there's no rush. I often used to be setting them with super glue, and you'd be dropping more eyes and sticking more eyes to your fingers, and before you know it, a big blob of super glue would come out down across that fly, and you go, oh, well, that's that effect anyway. Same again, I'm not saying this is 100% perfect, but it's probably the best way I feel it's set. Once I've got it in good position, again, hold it in tight with my finger to get a nice tight bond to the main core of that head material. And there we go. What a lovely little fry parrot. That is a little gem. Not bad now. Not bad. That was the one I tied. That was the other one I tied. And I really liked that one too. But two of them are pretty decent now. Very nice little streamers. Size 10. You know, the whole length of that fly is probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches max. Little bit of squirrel zonker. Really spiky. Has a little bit of articulation, but we're not looking really for articulation. Now, thanks, Graham. We're looking for more the profile. That little bit of UV, the little bit of orange coming through that orange. That's that bit of a little bit of an Indian cape. Makes a lovely little fry pattern. Really good pulling pattern for early season on the Loughs. If there's a hungry trout in around Ladies Island there in Lough and you're pulling that across the shallow rocks, He's going to find it very hard not to give that a chase. Or thanks, Kieran. He's going to find it very hard not to give that a chase. Thanks, Sebastian. Really appreciate it. And again, thank you for your time. It's been great to have so many people like Sebastian on with us this year, sharing their information and stuff like that, and having a bit of crack. I really have enjoyed it. But there you go, folks. Those two are going into the box. Thanks, Tony. Those two flies are going into the little tub, and that draw will be done on Wednesday. Nice little selection of flies there for everybody for this week. So I hope he's really enjoyed. Thanks, Robbie. I hope he's really enjoyed our second last show. Next week will be our last. We'll be live at 8:30 next Saturday night. We will be heading back. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Jerry. We will be heading back to the rivers next Saturday night for looking at early season river flies and talking to a few experts and stuff like that, and tying a couple of cracker patterns. Thanks, Ken. Safe travels back to BC when you're on the road there. But so look, I'm going to say good night. Everybody have a great Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Have a great weekend. Don't forget, if you need any fly fishing, fly tying gear, check out www.piscariFly.com. We have a new website up and running at the moment. Still a bit of work to go on it, but seems to be good enough feedback. And don't forget to check out bandvalleyflies.net as well. He's got a 10% discount for all the viewers tonight up there, and free postage if you're looking for a blast of flies. So good night, folks. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everyone. And I will see you all next Saturday night for our final show. Please do come along and say goodbye for the summer months, and we'll all go fishing then, please God, and everyone will be happy. Good night, folks. Be safe.